Hello guys and welcome to SteveKnows. It's a little different today, some shockers, so I'm not going to talk too much here. Please subscribe, join the Discord, you know the drill. Let's get started. Gosh, okay, this video, it was a hard one to make because I was so conflicted about should I make it, should I not, should I give this the limelight, but then I thought it's not about how I feel. You deserve to be in the know, and I'm hoping some understanding can come from this, and perhaps something needs to be done. I think there's more to the story than what's going on here. I also have VR news stories as well, but the main thing here is about what people are saying to who's being coined one of the most hated men in VR. And first of all, I know some of you will say, Steve, you're a Quest ambassador throughout this entire video, and just to be perfectly clear, I would not be making this video if they had any restrictions on my content, which will become very apparent as I go through what I'm talking about today. And case in point, Zuck, you suck!
I'm not aware of that.
So I woke up this morning ready to check out the VR space, its news, what's been occurring this week, because I do the weekly news update videos, and Bradley posted a pretty okay point around virtual reality content being showcased on the Quest 2 and the PlayStation VR 2 regarding its visuals. Basically saying at the end of the day, these are the visuals that people are going to see in their headset. It wasn't that deep. And then there were some valid responses from Lucas, an absolute legend in this space, around the data showing otherwise, although he agrees to some degree what he is getting at. But then, this is where Boz, the CTO of Meta, commented on Bradley's post saying, Bradley never lets the truth get in the way of a good story, which seems a little passive aggressive. And this got me. Why is a CTO of one of the largest corporations in the world commenting such a passive aggressive dig at a relatively small YouTuber?
Round 1, fight!
So for those that are not aware, Bradley had an arrangement with a contractor of Meta's that was recently feeding him information around internal projects such as new hardware and the Quest 3. And this of course caused so much frustration within the company because of course secrets were being leaked, but they have recently found the cause of these concerns, the source, and have cut ties. So that's some context, but before moving on, something else has recently happened in this space which may explain why tensions are quite high with Boz right now. So they were dealing with hardware leaks as just mentioned, but there was also the decision to shut down Echo Arena that fosters one of the largest esports communities in the VR space, a loved game, a staple for VR. There has been a lot of backlash on this, and the AMA of him explaining why this happened whilst wearing a rather cheeky smirk across his face left a bad taste in many people's mouths. So I will leave the save Echo petition down below and the Discord as well if you're interested in trying to get this thing saved. There's so much work going on here, so please get involved even if you're just a little bit interested. It's a huge win for VR if we keep this around. So people aren't really liking Boz right now, and as the head of the VR monopoly, that does not bode well. I can only imagine there are such pressures upon him around these leaks, Carmack leaving, the backlash of Echo. There's a lot on his shoulders right now, and he is human, so I can only imagine that he is feeling a little pressured, to put it nicely. So continuing with the post, true to form, Blair, the developer of Lo-Fi, known in the Twitterverse for his unfiltered opinions, commented saying, this is not what John Carmack would do. You are bad at this, which had me like, woohoo, Boz is already aware that he is living in the shadow of Carmack, an incredible legend in this space, beyond just VR as well, the original CTO. And it's like saying, you'll never be as good as your brother. It must cut quite deep. And I think Boz here needs to learn what many creators have had to learn over time is constraint when commenting back on things like this. A little back and forth goes on here, and it kind of goes off-piste around what the original discussion was about, so I will leave a link to that discussion down below in the description for you to check out. So I'm kind of conflicted here because this was incredibly unprofessional, but Boz, even though he was off on one, made a fantastic point around this wasn't a normal interaction that was controlled by PR, this was unfiltered interaction between community and the CTO, which is actually a great thing, but of course, not in this context. And I think it highlights that Bradley is under Meta's skin. He is on their radar, and I find it quite amusing that one of the big dogs, one of the largest corporations in the world, is now looking at Bradley, who is such a sweetheart. If any of you know him, such a lovely guy. They're looking at him under a microscope now, which is quite amusing. But enough of the drama. Let's talk about games and updates. It's a bit more exciting, and we probably care a little bit more about it. So a new title coming to the Quest and the PC VR later this year in 2023 from VRGE, so Verge Studios, which looks to be a simple premise of flying through tunnels, avoiding obstacles, and shooting asteroids and enemies whilst you traverse through a procedurally generated world, trying to get as far as you possibly can. Very arcadey, very kind of headset passing around the room so people can play sort of experience. But I can imagine that you're getting that state of flow with this game. It looks like all your focus would be lost in it, and it become very, very addictive. So the developers have said that they wanted to build a solid base experience that would allow them to branch off and create many game modes. So you should see this style of play being used to create perhaps other titles, or at least game modes in this experience in the future as well. And I want to see things like Swarm do that. Swarm's the best swinging mechanic I've ever played in VR, and we need to bring that and port that to other titles. Okay, this one is just nuts. I can't believe this story happened. If your partner won't let you get a VR headset, this article may help. So a new study finds that flirting in VR can help prevent cheating. How on earth someone thought about this or came up with this is beyond me, but Doran Friedman and Gurit Birnbaum, if I've said that correctly, they are university professors and they run this study. And the idea behind it is that when you're exposed to a weakened threat and you're exposed to that temptation, it will allow you to increase your self-control. So when threatened with a higher level boss, you should be able to stop and keep it together and say, no, stop! I'll leave a link down below in the description, of course, because it's a pretty crazy story, and perhaps your partner needs you to upskill, and it's an excuse to get a VR headset. Horizon Worlds is going to be opening its doors now for 13 to 17-year-olds. I don't know why that sounded so wrong in my head. It was a bit like it was like a club, but we're now letting minors in. Also, it's kind of amusing as well, because there weren't any kids before in Horizon Worlds already, was there? So the Wall Street Journal commented on this, and they bullet pointed some points that are going to be coming in the future updates. So they are now focusing, or Horizon Worlds Meta, they are focusing on user retention among teens and young adults. So they're aiming content between 13 to 17-year-olds coming as early as March. They're also working with outside studios to bring new worlds and experiences for Horizon Worlds, of course, focused at that younger age group. And of course, they're going to be releasing the flat screen version of Horizon as well for mobiles and desktops, which should push for the younger generation even more so. Just one last push, right, guys, to make that billion-dollar investment work. Just give it one more go. One more. Now, Shell Games have teased us for more content for Among Us VR. We can move out from the Scald with a new map based off Polis. This is going to be coming at some point in 2023, no specific date, that's kind of vague, but there is a voting system where you can actually choose, we can choose what we want the name of the map to be, which is so good. This sort of community interaction for big franchises like this, you just don't see in any other community. I love VR. So we can choose Polis Mine, Polis Frontier, and Polis Point. So that's it from me today, guys. Not too much to report on except the leaks being stamped out, Bradley getting under some skin, a few game updates and games incoming. So please subscribe to the channel. Hopefully I'll see you next time. Have a great week. Happy gaming. Good day.